Well, Rudy Alpha Investments. Looks like core sets are disappearing again. The only difference is, unlike last time, Wizards did not say we're ending core sets. They just simply, from what I gather on next year's 2021 crazy schedule, they just took off core set 2022 for 2021. A lot of people sent me messages thinking that, well, Rudy, maybe they're going to skip a year, so the core set actually finally lines up with the year. So in 2022, they can have core set 2022, and it's less confusing. Oh, that was actually an interesting idea. But at this point in time, it looks like core sets are disappearing, and Wizards will eventually bring core sets back the same time that I get a haircut, which will probably be next year. That was my attempt at a joke. Why aren't you laughing? I spent all day writing this video script. Yeah, so with the release of the schedule for next year, to my surprise, again, I guess what really bothers me is I guess the fact that the tinfoil hat weird emails I get, like almost all of them are true. Like, I think that annoys me more than the fact that if they weren't true. Does that make sense to everybody? I think it bothers me that most of the tinfoil email stuff I get is all accurate. Like, how on earth? Like, that just... I feel like it should only be like one or two things should be true and everything else should be a load of garbage. Anyway, so apparently it turns out next year, we are having that Norse Viking thing. We are having crossovers with, I guess, a mage Harry Potter themed wizard school. And then I guess we're doing Dungeons and Dragons magic instead of core set. Okay. So, does anybody else just kind of feel like magic is all over the place? Does anybody else just kind of feel like that these dudes are sitting in these fancy, like, super fitted pinstripe $10,000 suits and they're taking balls of, like, literally, like, cardboard and they're just chucking it at a fan and they're just picking all these crazy... Does anybody else just feel like, where the heck is magic going? Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just an old fart and I just kind of... I'm old school, you know? Because I'm sitting here going... So next year, there's no core set. We got Vikings, Harry Potter, Wizard School, but then we're doing Dungeons and Dragons. I'm like, well, okay. It doesn't really feel like any form of old school magic, but I guess the whole crossover thing, I guess the Godzilla with Ikoria crossover was kind of a test, and they realized how successful it was, and now they're going to use their IP brands, intellectual property of other brands, and I guess they're going to cross the streams kind of thing, some sort of old school Ghostbusters thing. They're going to cross the streams and kind of make the future of magic, which is different pop culture things, I guess. I don't know what all this means. Like, it's very strange. Like, this is, like, I would have never predicted any of this stuff, you know? And it's funny because if I had to take a guess, I feel like most people who are sealed product investors or collectors or any of that, I feel like in this environment, the least amount of people have the kahunas or the tetherballs or just the stomach to sit on any form of sealed product, because there's so... It's not that each sealed product's overprinted, which actually isn't. Actually, the print runs of most of these things, from Jumpstart to collector boxes, have actually been pretty tight. There actually really hasn't been anything overly printed and problematic. But the problem is there's just so many different products. But each product's got a normal print run, but it's just one of these things where everybody's just kind of like nervous. There's anxiety. There's fear. Everybody keeps bringing up the sports card collapse. This is the next Beanie Babies and Pogs, and reminds you of the sports cards of the 90s where they just start printing all these products to cash in. Now, I know in the 90s, the difference was you had 20 different companies printing the same baseball card year. I mean, I get there's a little bit different, and Wizards is the only company that's legally allowed to print Magic, so there's a little bit of a different analogy there. But it is concerning. I'm not going to downplay the fact that the concerns that everybody has are like fake concerns, or they're invalid. They are credible. They're credible fears. I mean, there is validity to it, but I don't know if it really changes anything long term, because I guess the most common comments and conversations I've been having is just, well, Rudy, what about you and your stay the course, blah, blah, blah. Well, first of all, my stay the course mentality was from March of 2020, when everybody was dumping their Magic cards. Stores stopped their buy list for Power 9, and everybody wanted... The old Magic cards were garbage, and I said, bro, you got to stay the course. Keep your sealed product, keep buying the old stuff, and that was obviously the right decision. Now, at the end of 2020, stock market sky high, real estate prices are going straight up, well, in locations that are more stable. That's all I'm going to say. And, collectibles across the board, from video games to the Pokken, the Moms, and Yu-Gi-Ohs, and Magics, and, Final Fantasy TCG, the Flesh and Blood TCG, all these things are skyrocketing. Every category is skyrocketing. And I'm like, okay, well, that's definitely not what we expected. So, not sure how to take that moving forward. My instinct still says the more things change, the more they stay the same. And people went through this same change of mindset when we did the shift of the print run from RTR and Gate Crash and Dragon's Maze from 2011, 2012. When they ratcheted the print run of Dragon's Maze and Gate Crash through the roof, the highest we've ever seen. And even then, you can still tell in 2020 the prices of those particular sets are stunted compared to everything else after it. The Khans, the Kaladesh, the Battle for Zendikar, the Oath, the Eldritch Moon. You can go on and on. But it's interesting that the specific, when they ratcheted that print run in 2011, 2012, and they saw the writing on the wall, what it did to that era's products of that particular 6 to 12 month window. And, but the thing is, I always go back to the same thing, like I just said. The more things change, the more they stay the same, honestly. With, core sets are disappearing again. Are we really surprised? They ended core sets before. They brought back the M10, N11, M12, M13, 14, 15, and then they ended core sets with Magic Origins. Then they brought core sets back with M19, M20, M21. Now they're ending core sets again. They're going to... I guess I don't think anything's different. I think what it is we all have price memory of other hobbies collapsing, and it scares the living tacos out of us. I really do think that's the case. I think that general price memory of what's happened to other hobbies really instills the fear in the back of everybody's mind. But, the difference between Magic and Pokemon and many of these other card games that are skyrocketing and doing well, in the video game world, the difference is the cards do have utility. You really can't compare a playing card that actually has a game and mechanics behind it to a sports card, because there is a difference. Now, of course, sports cards have things that go positive in their direction. For example, if there's a 1 of 100 or a 1 of 10 or 1 of 1 memorabilia or a specific jersey or item or signature or something of a person or something specific that truly is, there's only just so many of them. If there's only 1 or 5 or 10 of something, it's going to drive the price high. Whether you agree with that or not isn't really what we're arguing about, but they have that category for them. In Magic, as we continue this everything special category in all these showcase, box topper, borderless, foil but non-foil, it's very difficult to keep up. And I'm seeing that everywhere. But I'm stopping short of saying that I actually think this is going to be like this Magic collapse or Wizards is going to burn it to the ground. I have to stop short of that. I just don't think that's going to happen. I know the change and the shock factor of when this news hits you, like the new Zendikar with the Expedition style cards just being like a box topper, but if you actually want the full Monty Expedition with foil and everything, you have to buy the collector's box. You know what I'm saying? So, they're shifting. They're very, very articulating the calculations here. The calculations Wizards is doing with these products is it may seem sloppy and crap everywhere, and they are making mistakes, writing the wrong, items in the pack, putting the wrong information out there and screwing up and having to backtrack it, give out free things. But overall, they are putting a lot of thought into the money side. There are economists and people working for Wizards that are hammering and going after that secondary market on modern pioneer and new things. Now, how that's going to impact over the next 5 years, I don't know. 2020 is a very weird example. I think next year, and going into the hall, when 2020 finally goes away, I think we're going to get a better feel for everything. But I think at this point in time, this is about all we can say. This is about all we can do. Always remember, change makes everyone unhappy and uncomfortable. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's the wrong decision until we see how things unfold over the coming 12, 24 months. The only true data is when you can look back on history and see it, well, that was stupid, or that was the right decision. So I want to leave everybody with that. That is genuinely my opinion with it. So I hope that helps.